The original sweet tomato heel, you can see it's all smooth stockinette. And all sweet tomato heels are worked in wedges. There's one, there's one, there's one. They can be worked toe up or top down. Either way works just fine. And this makes a very smooth stockinette curve. A padded sweet tomato heel has these columns of slip stitches running and curving around like this. Now if you had DPNs, you would put 2 DPNs here in the back, 1/3 on each DPN, and another DPN in the front. So 1/3 on each DPN. You've got your triangle there of DPNs. If you have magic loop, one long circ, you'd put a cable loop out here, and you'd have 2 ends here, like I do. I have 2 ends over here also because I'm working on 2 circs. Here is a diagram of one wedge of a sweet tomato padded heel. The only difference between the sweet tomato padded heel and the original heel is that the padded heel has these columns of slip stitch, just like heel stitch. Makes it cushy and soft and thick. And unlike the traditional heel stitch you find on a heel flap in a traditional sock, the heel stitch on a padded sweet tomato heel will curve around your heel kind of like a seashell. Very beautiful and very, very good fit, very comfortable. Now when we begin, we will place A and B to mark the 2/3 in the back of the sock. So it'll be the entire back of the leg or underside of the sole and come up a bit towards the front. We'll take the middle third of the top of the foot as the front, and the remainder 2/3 is the back where we knit the heel. A is at this side of the heel, and this is at B. Around here is the front of the sock. It's 1/3. This is 2/3. And so A would mark the beginning of the front and B the end of the front. So the first thing we'll do is we will knit to A and stop. Here is what row 1 looks like. It is a wrong side row. I'm showing everything from the front, but you will be purling this, so you would be on the other side purling. So on your way back, you'll start at A, turn the sock around so you're looking at the inside of the sock, the purl side. You'll slip the first stitch, and you'll purl all the way to B and stop. For row 1, you start at A, you slip the first stitch purlwise. That means you go in as if you're going to purl. I'm purling so the yarn is in the front. And you simply purl all the way to B, to the end of this needle. Now I'm going to snug up my stitches. The first, can't really snug up the slip stitch, but when you snug up the second and third stitch, they hold the slip stitch snug. So snug up those first 3 stitches on your needle, and everything will look much better if you remember to always snug up the beginning of each short row. So we're knitting all the way to the end of this needle. If you were on DPNs, you would be knitting to the end of one DPN and then to the end of the second one. You would be working back and forth on the 2 DPNs that were holding the heel stitches, the back section. Going all the way to B, this is B, remember that's A and B, all the way to B. You get to B, you turn around. Row 2 is a right side row. We finished the first row 1 on the wrong side at B, and we turned around after B. And here's what you do. All stitches, by the way, are slipped purlwise. You're going to slip one, knit one, slip one, knit one, all the way to here, to there. That's the last knit one. There are 3 stitches left, that one, and that one. And you're going to knit that one right there and then turn around. So there are 2 knit stitches in a row here. Everything else was slip one, knit one, slip one, knit one, but you end with 2 knit stitches in a row, and you turn around, and as you turn around, you're going to leave a gap right there. You're going to slip this stitch. We slipped that stitch when we left A, and now we're slipping the stitch as we leave from point B. And this means that there is a slip stitch at A and one at B as well. On the way back, we're going to begin the slip stitch column. So you slip that first stitch, knit the next stitch, snug them up. Slip one, knit one, slip one, knit one, until there are 3 stitches left on this needle. Because remember, these are short rows, so you are always working a little bit shorter, except for that first row where you went all the way to B. Whoops, went a little too far. 3 stitches left. We ended here with a slip one, knit one. Now we're going to knit another one, so we have 2 knits next to each other. And now we'll turn, leaving a pair right there. Row 3 is a wrong side row, meaning we're going to purl back. And just like you did before, you're going to slip the first stitch purlwise and then Purl all the way and stop 2 before B. You're going to leave a gap when you turn around. Your goal is to leave pairs of stitches with gaps in between. There's a pair and a gap. There's a pair. There's about to be another gap. Slip a stitch and snug up those first few, and we're going to purl until there are 2 left, and we're going to turn. Here's row 4, a right side row. Going to start with a slip stitch, slipping purlwise of course. Knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, all the way until you are 5 before A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before A. So that one right there is the last one you knit. And knit the next one too, so that there are 2 knits in a row. At the end of every short row that is on the knit side, you will end with 2 knits, and then you'll turn around. Slip 1, knit 1, just like we did on row 2, slip 1, knit 1, and this time we're going to go until there are 5 left on this needle. Aha, 5. And so remember, we always want to end with knit 2 on the knit side, so there, that's a knit, and this is a knit, and then we turn around. Row 5 is a wrong side row. Slip 1 purlwise, purl until you are 4 stitches before B. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice that you have a pair, a gap, a pair, and you are creating a gap now by turning around. So you are building a series on each side of pair, gap, pair, gap, pair, gap, pair, gap. And we purl until there are 4 left on this end. Pair, gap, pair, and a new gap when I turn around. Slip 1, knit 1 all the way until you are 3 before the next gap. 1, 2, 3. Knit that one, and now they're just 2 before the gap, and you can turn around. So if you want to just read your knitting, count off pair, gap, and it's 3 before the next gap. Knit the one that makes it 2 before the gap, and turn around right there to leave a new gap after that pair. Of course, you could also be reading this and you could count 7 stitches before A, which is the same thing. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You stop there, then you knit 1 and turn, and that puts you right here. Look at what we've got. Pair, gap, and then 3 more. 2, 2, and 3 is 7. But if you want to look at it another way, there is a gap, and there are 3 before the gap, and you pause before the gap just so you can remember that you need to knit that final one, because that does put 2 knits in a row. And all the way across you have been doing slip 1, knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, so this is different, and I want you not to forget. See, the rows are getting shorter and shorter. That's why they're called short rows. 7 is a wrong side row. Slip 1, purl until you are 2 before the gap. Or if you'd like to count 6 stitches from B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're going to stop there and turn around to create a new gap. So either count or look there and count, or just pull off pairs and gaps and know that you always stop 2 before the next gap. 2, 4, 6. We've got 3 more to go. Notice how you can just sort of count off pairs. So let's have a look. Pair, gap, pair, about to make a new gap. Row 8, of course, is a knit row. We're on the knit side going that way. Slip 1, knit 1, slip 1, knit 1 until you are 3 before the next gap. There's the next gap. 1, 2, 3. Stop there to remember to knit the final one so that we have 2 knits in front of that gap. Aha, let's read our knitting. Pair, gap, pair, gap. And remember, when we're 3 after the last gap, we knit that stitch so we have 2 knits in a row right there. The reason we have 2 knits in a row is because if we slip that last stitch, then we'd have to slip it again. It would be slipped twice in a row and it wouldn't work out so well. On row 9, it's getting very short, isn't it? At this point, this would be about 1 inch across the middle. That's what you're looking for, is about 1 inch in the middle. And you slip 1 and purl until you are 2 before that next gap. Stop right there and turn, leaving a new gap there. Pair, gap. Aha. We always, on this side, we go to 2 before the gap and turn around. Let's see what we have now. Oh, look what we have now. We are ready to knit across the top. At this point, we're going to begin to close the gaps. We have these columns of slip stitches, don't we? You can see that I have colored all of the slip stitch columns in pale blue, and notice how they come right off of the slipped stitches where you turned, just to show you how this thing is put together. We have added the needles back in, and of course the sock continues around the back. We can't see it, but it goes around the back. So what you see here, the needle has slipped the first stitch as we're preparing to go in this direction, and then we will be closing these gaps in a very simple way that works beautifully. So we're simply going to go slip one, slip one, knit one, up to one before the first gap. Okay, here we are. So we start out with slip one, knit one, slip one, knit one. And because there isn't very much here, this is such a small sock, that brings us right up to one before the first gap. Now I want to show you what we really have here, so I'm going to take this stitch off and show you what it looks like. On the tip of my needle is the daughter stitch. She's rising out of her mother stitch right down there, mother, daughter. And so there are two generations of stitches in one column. Now the mother, here's mom, her leg, she comes up like this, goes through her daughter, and then goes down through here, across here. Notice she's bridging the gap as she crosses between these two loops. Now if we could tighten that, maybe it would close the gap. And so we'll do that. Watch how easy it is. You simply pick up mom's right leg, lift her up on the horse of the needle so she can go for a ride with her daughter, and knit them together. When you lift her up, it shortens the stitch, it closes the gap, and it is that simple. That's called Thanks Ma. After you do that, you knit the next stitch, and then you come to the next one that is looking down on the gap. You know it's the one because Ma's leg is going across there, and it comes right after that knit stitch. So once again, you just lift Ma up, put her on the horse, and knit them together. And then knit the next stitch. Always remember to knit the stitch afterwards. Lift Ma up, put her on the horse, knit them together, knit the next stitch. Now you are knitting them together like a knit two together, but this is not a decrease. We're just sort of collapsing the generations in that column. Knit one. The final one is a Thanks Ma. So you knit those two together, and let's see what you've got. Very nice. Notice how easy that was and that you've closed all the gaps. Now you're going to knit around the front. After you close all those gaps, you're going to begin doing full rounds. So we're going to knit across the front, and then we're going to come up this side and close those gaps. And now we've got all these little gaps to close. We're going to do it exactly the same way. In fact, it's the mirror image of what we did before. The first gap is right here at the needle intersection. And if you look, you'll see here's Ma's right leg. And put her on the horse, knit them together, knit the next stitch. There's the next Ma, lift up her leg, say thank you Ma as she closes the gap for you. Now I want you to notice that this is the mirror image of the other side. Here we have the Thanks Ma stitch looking down on the gap down here to the right. On the other side, we had the Thanks Ma stitch looking down on the gap to the left. They're just the flip side of each other, but they're both worked exactly the same way. You thank Ma, and then you knit the next stitch. You're going to do this till there are no more gaps. Makes sense, doesn't it? And look, there are no more gaps already. And once you're at that point, you simply knit all the way down to A, which is at the end of this needle. So you're down there, you have closed all the gaps, and that wedge is complete. All wedges begin and end at A. There's B, there's A. And look at what we've got. Beautifully closed. Whole thing is closed. See here, it's what it looks like from the bottom. So I hope you'll give this a try. It's a lot of fun and it will fit your foot really well, and you hardly have to think to do it.